Emily Swallow, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. We can't tell you how excited we are to talk to you. One, because you're just fantastic and we're huge fans. Two, you're on the biggest show in the universe right now with the Mandalorian. With the Mandalorian.
That old thing?
Yeah, you know that little thing. As if that wasn't big enough, we're huge Supernatural fans, and we've got a ton of Supernatural.
Awesome.
Proud members of the Supernatural family, so
I love it.
Well, what we like to do real quick is just kind of give a brief introduction of you to the listeners and everything. So I definitely am intrigued by this, and I think they will too. How do you go into acting and the career that you went into out of Middle Eastern studies? How did that transition happen?
Isn't the answer obvious? I think, I grew up performing, and I loved singing, and I loved acting, but I also loved a lot of other things, and I also just didn't have anyone in my, direct orbit who had gone into a career in acting, so it sort of just didn't even strike me as a possibility. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I did love was political science and foreign relations, and so I thought I would go into a career in the Foreign Service, and specifically the Middle East. So that was my major in my undergrad at UVA, but I am very fortunate because the drama department at UVA does not require you to be a drama major to get to work on the productions there. So my time in undergrad was pretty evenly split between my major and all of the academic classes, and then just doing as many plays as I could at the drama department and falling more and more in love with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I had one particular acting teacher who finally said to me, is this something that you think you might want to pursue professionally? And it just took him asking me that, and I finally sort of admitted it. I said, I think I do want to give it a shot. So he helped me work on auditions for conservatory programs, and I auditioned for and got into NYU's grad acting program, and the rest continues to unfold.
And there you go. Sure. Yeah, how'd the family react? You're like, hey, I'm going to kind of set aside this career where I can make a living, and I'm going to go to this career with nothing but rejection. How'd that go over?
Well, I think that I had a pretty great strategy, because I went from saying, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to go work in an embassy in Jordan or something.
Oh, that's true.
Good point.
That's a good point.
To New York and try to be an actor.
Good point. I'm sure they were much happier with the safer route. That's excellent.
Yes,
that's absolutely
definitely.
true.
I mean, they've always been incredibly supportive, so I've been so blessed in that regard, because it definitely helps to have family support when you're dealing with rejection all over the place.
Definitely. And so did you get started in theater? Is that how it all started? Kind of made the move into film and television from there?
Yeah. And honestly, when I first started, I was like, why would I ever want to do anything but theater? Because I loved it so much. And there are things about theater that are just not possible to replicate in film and TV that I love about the process. I love that you're in a room with the same actors and the same directors working on the same text for an extended period, and there's nuances and subtleties that you find that you just never really have time to find in the same way with film and TV. And I love the audience, that you're performing in front of an audience every night, and they're part of the experience. So there's parts of it in that way that I would never want to stop doing theater, but I definitely don't do as much as I used to.
Right.
Yeah, I heard in another interview that you said you want to make sure you do one or two every year just to keep it in your blood type stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's really where I get a chance to stretch and to grow. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do try to do one or two a year.
You also worked on stage with the one and only Tom Hanks.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I did.
What was that like?
that guy, like the nicest guy in Hollywood, right? That's his tag, his moniker, right?
Yeah, he's obviously very nice, and one of the coolest things that I took away from working with him was just seeing how, he works incredibly hard, but there's no sense of worry about it. And he was playing this character that was really challenging because he's wearing a fat suit and he's dealing with all this Shakespearean text. And
Right.
you never have enough time when you're rehearsing theater. And you never got the sense that he was like coasting along or not putting in the work. You knew he was working really hard, but he never had any sense of worry. And it just set the tone for everybody in a way that I think helped the process so much, because there wasn't this need. I think sometimes when we're feeling challenged by a role, there's this need to like show like how difficult this is and how I'm grappling with this, and I just need you guys to know that I'm working really hard. And he was just so relaxed about it, and willing to make big mistakes and trying to find who this character was. And that opened up that opportunity for everybody in the room to not worry so much about like looking good or like making the right choices. And
Absolutely.
I think that made the whole show better.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You have definitely been fortunate enough to get onto some huge shows. I mean, and not just huge shows, but shows that have like these massive followings.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, we mentioned The Mandalorian and Supernatural, but also SEAL Team, The Mentalist, Castlevania. All of these things like have huge fan followings, which is just crazy. What's that like? I mean, and do you find yourself like when you're walking on the street, there's certain people that recognize you from certain shows? Like what's that like?
It's awesome. Because first and foremost, like one of the things that I said I love about theater, which is having that interaction with the audience. When you get to meet the fans, like that's your audience. And so I love hearing what stands out to people about like different episodes of Supernatural or different aspects of The Mandalorian. And I'm always intrigued by the overlap that happens between different fan bases, who likes one show and also loves another show.
Right.
But it's been such a rewarding thing to get to do like conventions and to get to know fans more and more, because they just have such passion for these shows and such love for the characters and love for the stories, and it feels really good to know like what resonates with them and what they still hope for and what it is that they take away from it. And in terms of getting recognized, it happens occasionally. Not that much. I definitely don't think I'm ever going to be getting recognized for the armorer.
You better not, because you're not allowed to take off that helmet,
Right.
I know, right?
That's so funny.
But yeah, it does. It happens. It happens overseas a lot. I feel like it happens like when I'm traveling overseas, or somebody on an airplane. So you definitely always want to make sure that you're on your best behavior, so that nobody catches you like being cranky with a flight attendant.
Yeah.
Right. That's hilarious. But let's jump into it. The Mandalorian. Was this, it's Disney, obviously, and we've had some other Marvel guests on the show, and they said the audition process was really hush-hush secretive. Was it the same way with the Star Wars crowd? Was it very secretive? Like, did you know what you were auditioning for when you went in?
I had a vague idea of what it might be. My agent said, we think this is something to do with Star Wars, but it was very, very secretive. And at this point, I've gone in for plenty of things that have like fake scenes and fake names in the side. So you kind of just say, okay, I'm going to treat this as I would any other audition and kind of like make the connections that I think I can make and not worry about the rest. And I'm really glad for that, because with The Mandalorian, I had no idea how big it would be. And I'm glad, because I think it would have been a lot more stressful. But I did go in knowing that this character was like the leader of these people that were in hiding, and kind of like a spiritual guide in a sense, and somebody who had this calm, quiet authority. And my audition scene was pretty similar to that scene in the third episode where she's kind of bringing down the hammer in a very polite way with the Mandalorians that are getting ornery and trying to fight with each other.
Yeah, that's great.
I liken it to, I call you Mama Mando.
That's right.
Yeah.
Seriously, the one scene in the last episode where you telling them no go, and you start whooping ass on all the people coming in. That was epic. Yeah, that was definitely like, what's it like? Were you excited about the fact when you found out that it was going to be a lot of physical physical stuff because your face wasn't going to be seen? Like, I mean, because I gotta imagine that kind of plays a difference in the way you approach it if you know it's more physical than actually showing face emotion, right?
Yeah, well, I knew when I auditioned that my face wouldn't be seen, but I didn't know exactly what the mask and what all of that were going to look like, and I really enjoyed the challenge, and because I was in the first episode and we were block shooting the first and third episodes at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave Filoni and Deborah Chow, who were directing those, we were really working together, all of us that were in masks, and working with them to try to figure out to find the language of these characters and to find how each movement would be communicated, because since you can't see our faces, you quickly realize that every move that you make tells some sort of story.
Right.
So you have to decide, is that the story I want to be telling, or is that distracting from the story? And,
right.
And it was a pretty cool challenge, because I've never gotten to do anything like that in television. So I enjoyed it. I liked not having access to my normal facial expressions, or getting to raise an eyebrow or give a little wink or something.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
It's a new challenge. I mean,
yeah.
I heard that you and Pedro actually go back a little bit ways.
Yeah, we know each other from the New York theater scene, and then we got to work together on The Mentalist, totally randomly. So it was awesome to get to work with him on this.
Yeah, and he just seems like a really nice and humble guy, especially for that experience. I saw him at a convention, and he was just like, "What? I get to be the Mandalorian?"
Oh, he's such a good guy, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I mean, like you said, everyone that was involved, it was just such obviously a very talented group of people,
Mm-hmm.
but also just so humble and so generous and open-hearted, and it was a great group to be with.
Yeah, seriously. How was it? How was Baby Yoda? What was that like on set?
The puppet is ridiculously cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to keep telling yourself, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. But it looks real. It's so cute.
That's great.
And is there some point I'm hoping maybe that the armor comes across? I mean, because it definitely seems like Mando's not getting rid of it.
Yeah.
It's going to be around, so you never know, right?
Yeah, Mando's not getting rid of him whether he wants to or not.
No.
And I love that too. I loved in that last episode when he's like, "Wait a minute, you want me to watch after this?" Da da da. And he's like, basically, I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
And she just says, "This is the way."
This is
Exactly.
the way.
This is the way. And by the way, kudos on the hashtag, because you are just champ at using the "this is the way" hashtag. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
We think, and I'm sure it's one of the reasons that it's been such a massive success, that it has been a phenomenon, really. Jon Favreau's writing, I just think it's absolutely brilliant how he's made this
incredible.
space western. And what's it like working with him and being involved in that? Because I've been a longtime fan of Favreau as well. I just think he's genius. And what's that like?
He's genius, and he is just so completely open and curious, and doesn't need anybody else to think that he's super important. He's just there to get his hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
To bring people together. I mean, he's such an incredible team leader, and I think he's so great at establishing a spirit of collaboration and of playfulness and making sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone's playing in the same world. And one of the things that I heard that I really saw come across was that he'd hired these directors who all have very different styles, and he encouraged them to direct their episodes using their own styles, but also they all talked and they all shared ideas, and they all communicated about what is this overall arc of this season, and what is the main thrust of the story that we want to be communicating. And I think that he's just so great at listening to people and encouraging these ideas to come out. And he, like you said, he's so smart, and he has so many great ideas, and seems to have completely endless energy. I mean, I remember I was doing some looping for one of my episodes. So I was in a sound booth in New York, I think, and Dave Filoni was on the line, and Jon was in and out because he was also doing final edits on The Lion King or something.
Right.
Jumping back and forth between these two huge projects, but totally there, totally with it. He's just such a great person to have at the helm for something like this, and you totally trust him. You feel, I I feel like I knew while we were making it that it was going to be incredible, that it would be of this really high artistic standard. I had no idea, like, the kind of fervor that it would create, but I knew that we were making something that was going to be really good.
Definitely. And I think the passion, because he's a fan. You know, first and foremost, he's a fan going in, so he has this passion for the project already from a fan standpoint.
Exactly.
That's got to play into him making it, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And even just, you know, the heart of those stories and the hero's quest and all the Joseph Campbell stuff that George Lucas used when he was first creating those first stories. Jon loves that aspect of the storytelling, too, and you feel that. And I think that's also, like, his passion is part of the reason that the heart of the series is so strong, because everyone that was working on it just loved it. I mean, you could feel there was this, like, giddiness in the air.
Right.
I think with every single person, because we knew that we were creating another part of this story that's been going on for, like, 40 years now.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of George Lucas, did the man himself ever come on set?
He did. He came, I think it was for Jon's birthday.
Oh, nice.
One day. And I remember I didn't even know he was there, and I was just, like, walking from our sound stage across the other one, and he's standing there holding court, telling stories to people, and I just can't imagine what it must be like to recognize, to come to this point from, like, struggling to get those first movies made.
Right.
And, you know, just trying to, like, do what he could with not many people believing it was going to be any good and no one wanting to give him money, to now, like, having all this incredible technology and having all these people who want to be involved with it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's so funny that you brought that up, because one of our past guests was Oscar winner Roger Christensen, production designer for the original Star Wars films. And he talks about that war that Lucas had to get it made and the struggle that it was with these 5 guys in a room that nobody wanted, you know, try. It was crazy. So it's awesome that you brought it up. One of the things that we really think that you do really well with the armor, and I think it really, same thing with Supernatural, because I want to talk about Supernatural too, is that you make these characters likable, even though they might not necessarily be good people, or they might not necessarily, they have an agenda. You make them I mean, let's talk about Amara, Supernatural, okay? Darkness, right? She's just totally not good, yet somehow you find yourself rooting for her. You're like, she just wants love. She just wants to be with Dean.
Thank you.
You know. And I think,
honestly, I think that's sort of written into it. And that was the thing that I had to connect to, because, you know, I always had to find the point of connection between me and a character. And this was the first time I was faced with playing someone who basically, like, had superpowers and is this you know, somewhat omniscient being, and I certainly can't relate to any of that, but I could relate to the part of her that was wounded and felt misunderstood. And I mean, I think you said it exactly right. Like, ultimately she was acting out in all these ways because she wanted her brother, she wanted her family, and she wanted love, and people just weren't, you know, she comes into the world with the name The Darkness, so that's not really a good place to start to get people to like you.
Right.
She definitely acted on her frustration in some ways that were not super conducive to friend making, but she found her way.
Yeah, I just thought it was brilliant the way you pulled off the character. Like I said, the entire run, I was just rooting for you, and I was hoping Dean would just go for it, you know?
Oh, thanks.
Oh, man. So what was that like? That show, finally going off the air after all these years, you know, bringing it to an end. Again, the Supernatural family, and just like this huge phenomena that it was. What are the guys like? I mean, are they genuine? They just seem to be Sam and Dean, like these just two genuinely good guys who care about each other, have this thing going. What's that like? What are Jensen and Jared like?
Yeah, they really are. They're genuinely good guys. They're so welcoming. I mean, you never know when you're coming into a long-running show what kind of atmosphere it's going to be, if people are going to be tired, or if they're going to be like, you know, we got this, like, just fall into line and do what we do. And when I went into the show, I just felt like they were so excited to have somebody new to play with, and they were interested in my ideas, and they understand. I feel like they have tremendous gratitude and appreciation for the position that they're in, and that they've had the opportunity to be the center of this incredibly successful show. They don't take that for granted, and they work really hard, and they make sure that the people around them are happy and are taken care of. I mean, the crew is all so positive and so enthusiastic about working on the show, and so the whole atmosphere is really positive, and that's so commendable to me for a show that's been on for now 15 seasons.
Yeah,
still
absolutely.
have that kind of atmosphere it doesn't come easily. You have to make a decision to be positive and to deal with all of the frustrations and the long days, and just to be positive about all that.
Well, and you clearly fit right in. Just hearing you earlier in the interview talking about the fans and the joy you have going to the conventions. I mean, you fit right into the Supernatural family. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I love it. I love being a part of it.
Well, and the chemistry between you and Jensen was just fantastic. I mean,
Well, I mean, come on. The chemistry between him and like a broomstick would
Dude, it's hilarious.
I tell you what, I think that there's a reason that you've been with all of these incredibly nice people. It's because you're an incredibly nice person yourself. You just seem to fit in. Your body of work is extraordinary. Like I said, I've been a huge fan forever. How to Get Away with Murder, the SEAL team, just everything you've been on has been phenomenal. And I just feel like one of the things that we really enjoy the most is how personable you are towards the fans. Yeah. I think that goes a long way with people in this industry having a long career. You seem so humble and so appreciative of being able to be involved with all of these projects that have these huge fan bases. And I just think that's a wonderful thing. And I think it goes a long way with the success that you've had.
Well, thank you. I mean, I don't take any of it for granted. And especially with the fans, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without them being enthusiastic about it. So I am absolutely grateful to them, and it's fun to get to know people. I mean, you can't really get to know people online that well, but it's fun to get to interact and know who the people are that are watching the stories you're making.
Absolutely. So what do you got coming up? I'm hoping we're seeing a whole lot more of you in Mandalorian Season 2.
Well, I can't say anything about that, but I hope so too.
You
that lockdown from Disney,
yeah, I heard you say you felt like there was like drones watching over you on the set. Make
You
wouldn't say anything,
I
take pictures.
So many pictures, and I was like, I'm gonna get fired if I didn't take a picture.
That's right.
Because also when I was shooting was right around the time that some pictures had been leaked of, I think, stormtroopers or something. So we were on total lockdown. Like between my dressing room and the set, I had to wear, I called them our cloaks of invisibility. There were these black cloaks with hoods, and we had to completely cover up our costumes anytime we were walking around the lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm glad that they were able to keep so much under wraps.
Oh yeah,
it made it so much more fun when it all got revealed.
Definitely, and we're not gonna force you to say anything because nobody wants to see you, force choked by Baby Yoda. That would be bad.
Seriously.
No, that hand will come up and be like, you're not talking. That's like crazy.
Not a good way to go.
No, not a good way to go. Listen, like I said, we just could not be more happy that you joined us today, and hoping to see, we know you can't say, but we're hoping to see a whole lot more of you in Mandalorian Season 2, and just everywhere. I mean, continued success. I just think, we can't wait to see you everywhere, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was such a pleasure. You guys are great.
Oh, well, thank you. And where can everybody find you? Tell everybody where to follow you on social media.
My Twitter and my Instagram handles are Biggie Swalls, which is BIGESWALLZ.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the main place to track me down. And I have a fan page on Facebook that I try to keep up with. Sometimes the technology gets the better of me, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But
no doubt.
I try.
Understand. And one last thing before we let you go. At the end of every interview, we because this show is all about giving advice to up-and-comers trying to break into the industry. So what advice would you give to any up-and-coming actor, producer, writer, anything like that, trying to break into the industry, and what pitfalls would you say to try to avoid?
Oh, boy. I think that maintaining a spirit of curiosity is really important, so that things that feel like rejections don't have to be rejections. Mm-hmm. They're just another step in the process, and I also say that specifically for actors, because we audition so much, and so we get rejected a lot. Mm-hmm. But the more you can kind of be curious about, like, okay, I wonder how this one, even though I didn't get this job, I wonder how it's going to fit into the next thing, or the greater trajectory. I think that that's so important, and kind of helps you avoid getting disheartened by that kind of stuff. And I think one of the biggest pitfalls is just taking a look at anyone else's career and comparing yourself to them, because you could do that to the the moon and back and never run out of people that you compare yourself to and always come up short, and it's just a losing battle. So I think the more you can avoid thinking that you have to measure yourself against anyone else, the better.
Oh, great advice. Yeah, solid advice. I mean, that's the perfect way to end it. Listen, open invite. Anytime you want to come back, you are more than welcome. We would love to have you on again. You've just been absolutely wonderful. A gem for sure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And listen, we'll let you go because we know you're busy, and get back onto the rest of what you got to do and everything. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was really great to talk to you.
Awesome. Have a good one now.
You too.
Bye-bye.